What if I told you that millions of seniors are losing thousands of dollars every year? Not because they're irresponsible, not because they made bad financial decisions, not because they failed to save enough, but because they're overlooking one simple thing hiding in plain sight. And the worst part, most people don't realize it until years later, when the money is already gone. Today, we're uncovering one of the biggest financial mistakes retirees make without even knowing it. This mistake doesn't cost a few dollars. It doesn't cost a few $100s. For some seniors, it quietly drains thousands every single year. And once you see it, you'll never look at your retirement money the same way again. Stay with me because what we're about to reveal could change the way you think about saving money forever. Now, before you assume this is about investing, it's not. Before you think this is another complicated financial strategy, it's not that either. You don't need to understand the stock market. You don't need to learn complicated tax laws. You don't need to buy anything. In fact, the solution is so simple that many people ignore it. And that's exactly why it works. Because while everyone is focused on making more money, very few people are paying attention to the money quietly slipping away. Think about it. If someone stole $5,000 from your bank account tomorrow, you'd notice immediately. You'd call the bank. You'd panic. You'd demand answers. But what if that same $5,000 disappeared slowly? A little this month, a little next month, a little the month after, would you notice? Most people don't. And that's exactly what's happening. Let me tell you about Mary. Mary is 72 years old. She spent decades working hard. She raised a family. She paid her bills. She saved whenever she could. When retirement finally arrived, she felt prepared, not rich, not wealthy, but comfortable. At least that's what she thought. Then something strange started happening. Every year seemed a little harder financially. Groceries, utilities cost more. Medical expenses increased. Insurance premiums climbed. At first she blamed inflation. Then she blamed the economy. Then she blamed bad luck. But one afternoon she sat down with a year's worth of bank statements. What she discovered shocked her. Her biggest financial problems weren't coming from one huge expense. They were coming from dozens of small expenses she barely noticed. Automatic payments, recurring charges, services she rarely used, premium increases she never questioned. Little leaks everywhere. Individually they seemed harmless. Together they were costing her thousands. Here's something fascinating about human psychology. Our brains are excellent at spotting emergencies, but they're terrible at spotting slow, moving problems. That's why people notice a sudden $1,000 expense immediately, but they often ignore a $20 increase, then another $15 increase, then another $30 increase, month after month, year after year. The problem isn't intelligence, it's human nature. Researchers have long understood that people adapt to gradual change. If prices rise slowly, most people barely notice. Companies know this. That's why so many recurring expenses increase little by little over time. Not enough to cause outrage, just enough to generate billions in additional revenue. And the longer people go without reviewing their finances, the more expensive those unnoticed increases become. Recent headlines have highlighted exactly this problem. Many retirees' expected costs of living increases to improve their financial situation, but rising healthcare expenses consume much of those gains. For many seniors, it felt like running on a treadmill, moving forward but never actually getting ahead. The lesson is important. A larger benefit check doesn't automatically mean greater financial security. Not if expenses rise just as quickly. That's why protecting the money you already have can sometimes be more powerful than finding new sources of income. The retirees who understand this principle often experience less financial stress, not because they have more money, but because they lose less money. And that's a critical difference. So what is the simple strategy most seniors miss? An annual expense audit. That's it. Every year review everything. Every subscription, every insurance policy, every recurring payment, every membership, every automatic withdrawal, every monthly charge. Ask yourself one question. If I were signing up for this today, would I still buy it? That single question can uncover hundreds or even thousands of dollars in unnecessary spending, because many expenses survive for one reason: habit, not value habit. People continue paying because they've always paid, not because they're receiving meaningful benefits. And that distinction matters, because retirement is too important to run on autopilot. But here's the surprising part. Subscriptions aren't actually the biggest problem. Neither is cable television, neither is streaming, and it's not even healthcare. There's another expense category quietly draining retirement savings across the country. A category that can cost tens of thousands of dollars over retirement. Most people never see it coming, and the retirees who catch it early often save more money than they ever expected. That's what we'll uncover next. Because once you understand this hidden expense, you'll understand why some retirees stay financially comfortable while others constantly feel like they're falling behind. Here's something most seniors never realize until years later. One of the biggest retirement expenses isn't healthcare, groceries, or even housing. It's loyalty. Loyalty to insurance companies, loyalty to internet providers, loyalty to phone plans. Companies reward new customers with discounts while longtime customers often pay the highest rates. A retiree might stay with the same provider for 10 years, never realizing comparable coverage exists for hundreds less per year. The increases happen slowly: $5 here, $10 there, nothing alarming enough to trigger action. But over a decade, those increases can quietly cost thousands. The lesson isn't to switch constantly, it's to compare regularly. The people who save the most aren't always earning more. They're simply refusing to overpay for the same service year after year. Now let's talk about a hidden cost almost everyone pays. The convenience tax companies have made spending money easier than ever. One click, one tap, automatic renewal, automatic delivery, automatic payment. Convenience feels harmless because it saves time. But when purchases become automatic, they stop being intentional. A streaming service you barely watch, a membership you forgot existed, a delivery fee you no longer question. None of these seem expensive alone together. They create a silent drain on retirement income. The goal isn't to eliminate convenience, it's to make sure convenience is worth the price you're paying. Every dollar spent should provide value. The moment spending becomes unconscious, companies start benefiting more than you do. The smartest retirees treat their finances like their health. They schedule a yearly checkup. Once every year, they gather bank statements, insurance documents, utility bills, subscriptions, and recurring expenses. Then they review everything. Not because they're worried, because they're prepared. They divide expenses into three groups: essential expenses, valuable expenses, and questionable expenses. That's where the surprises appear: forgotten subscriptions, duplicate services, premium increases, fees nobody noticed. Most people think they know where their money goes until they see the numbers in front of them. A yearly review turns assumptions into facts, and facts often reveal savings opportunities that have been hiding in plain sight for years. Most people spend their lives learning how to earn money. Very few learn how to keep it. That's why some retirees with large incomes still feel stressed, while others with modest incomes feel secure. Imagine your finances as a bucket. Income flows in from the top, while expenses leak out from the bottom. Most people focus only on increasing the flow coming in. Financially successful retirees focus on both. They increase income when possible, but they also plug the leaks. Every dollar saved is a dollar that doesn't need to be earned again. No overtime, no extra work, no risky investment, just money staying where it belongs. Over time, those preserved dollars add up. That's not luck, that's strategy. And it's one of the biggest differences between feeling financially trapped and feeling financially free in retirement. After everything we've discussed, the biggest retirement advantage isn't a larger pension, a bigger investment account, or even a higher Social Security check. It's clarity, knowing exactly where your money goes, understanding which expenses improve your life and which simply drain it. Most seniors don't need a miracle. They need visibility, because once you identify the leaks, you can fix them. Once you recognize waste, you can eliminate it. Financial confidence doesn't come from having unlimited money. It comes from knowing you're in control of the money you have. So before this day ends, spend 30 minutes reviewing your recurring expenses. Ask yourself one question. If I were signing up for this today, would I still choose it? The answer might save you hundreds. It might save you thousands, and it could completely change your retirement future. There's one document many seniors haven't reviewed in years, and it could be costing them more money than they realize. Insurance. Whether it's home insurance, auto insurance, or supplemental healthcare coverage. Many people sign up once and never look back. Insurance companies know this. They understand that most customers stay where they are because switching feels like a hassle. But here's the problem. Your needs change. Your circumstances change. The market changes, yet your policy often remains untouched. Imagine paying an extra $50 every month simply because you never compared options. That's $600 a year, over 10 years. That's $6,000. The smartest retirees don't assume they're getting the best deal. They verify it. One review can reveal savings opportunities hiding in plain sight. Most people underestimate the value of a simple question. Is there a better rate available? Those 6 words have saved countless retirees hundreds and sometimes thousands of dollars. Yet very few people ask them why. Because they assume the answer will be no. But companies often have discounts, promotions, loyalty programs, and businesses negotiate with customers every day. The difference is that some customers initiate the conversation while others never do. One phone call could lower a bill you've been paying for years. Not every call will produce savings, but the calls that do can generate results that last for years. That's a remarkable return on a few minutes of effort. Autopilot is wonderful when you're flying an airplane. It's not always wonderful when you're managing money. Many retirees have dozens of payments leaving their accounts every month automatically. They don't think about them. They don't review them. They simply trust that everything is fine. That's where problems begin. Small increases go unnoticed. Unused services continue charging. Fees quietly accumulate. The longer something remains on autopilot, the less attention it receives. And what doesn't receive attention rarely improves. Financially confident retirees understand that awareness creates control. They don't obsess over every penny. They simply remain informed, because when you know where your money is going, you gain the ability to decide whether it should continue going there. Every senior notices grocery prices have increased, but here's what many people miss. The biggest savings aren't always found by buying less. They're often found by buying differently. Stores know most shoppers follow routines. They walk the same aisles, buy the same brands, and rarely compare alternatives. That's why many products are placed exactly where they are. Smart shoppers pause before reaching automatically for familiar items. They compare unit prices. They watch for store brands. They plan meals around sales instead of buying first and checking prices later. Saving just $15 per week may not sound impressive, but over a year that's nearly $800. Over 10 years, that's thousands of dollars that remain in your pocket instead of disappearing at the checkout counter. Now let's discuss a threat that doesn't just cost money, it destroys confidence. Financial scams targeting seniors have become increasingly sophisticated. Gone are the obvious schemes full of spelling mistakes and suspicious requests. Today's scams often look professional. They create urgency, they exploit fear, they pressure people into acting quickly. That's why one of the best financial habits is simple: slow down. Any unexpected request involving money deserves verification. Any caller demanding immediate action deserves skepticism. Any email requesting sensitive information deserves caution. Scammers succeed when people react emotionally. They fail when people pause and verify. Protecting your savings isn't only about earning and spending wisely. It's also about ensuring nobody takes advantage of the wealth you've spent a lifetime building. Most people think inflation is something they see on the news, but retirees experience it differently. They feel it every time they fill a shopping cart, pay a utility bill, or schedule a medical appointment. The dangerous part isn't a sudden price jump, it's gradual increases that happen everywhere at once. 5% here, 3% there, a little more next month, a little more next year. Individually, those increases seem manageable. Combined, they can dramatically reduce purchasing power. That's why successful retirees don't just monitor income, they monitor expenses. They understand that protecting purchasing power is just as important as growing wealth. The less money that slips away to unnecessary costs, the more protection they have against inflation's slow and relentless effect. Many homeowners assume their mortgage payment disappearing in retirement means housing costs become predictable. Unfortunately, that's not always true. Property taxes can continue increasing long after a home is paid off. Some retirees are shocked to discover they're paying thousands more than they expected, simply because they never reviewed available exemptions or relief programs. The mistake isn't ignorance. Most people simply don't know what questions to ask. That's why reviewing local tax rules can be surprisingly valuable. Even small reductions can produce meaningful savings year after year. The key lesson is this: never assume your largest expenses are fixed forever. The moment you stop reviewing them is often the moment they begin quietly costing more than necessary. Imagine two people receiving the exact same medication. One pays significantly more than the other. It happens every day. Many retirees never compare pharmacy prices, generic alternatives, or discount programs because they assume medication costs are identical everywhere. Often they're not. The difference may be small for one prescription, but for someone taking multiple medications over many years, the savings can become substantial. The goal isn't to change anything without professional guidance. It's to ask informed questions. Are generic options available? Are there lower cost alternatives? Are there discount programs worth exploring? Questions create opportunities, and opportunities create. The people who consistently save money aren't always the smartest. They're often the people willing to ask one more question than everyone else. Have you ever noticed that some retirees seem remarkably calm about money? They aren't necessarily wealthy, they aren't necessarily earning more, yet they appear confident. The reason often has little to do with income and everything to do with habits. They review expenses regularly, they avoid unnecessary debt, they ask questions before making financial commitments. Most importantly, they understand that small decisions repeated consistently produce extraordinary results. One good decision won't transform your retirement overnight, but hundreds of good decisions over time absolutely can. That's the hidden advantage many successful retirees possess. They focus less on dramatic changes and more on steady improvements, and those improvements compound year after year. Here's an uncomfortable truth. Some retirees who feel financially squeezed aren't actually running out of money. They're losing control of where it goes. That's an important distinction. When expenses become unclear, anxiety grows. Every purchase feels uncertain. Every bill feels larger. Every financial decision feels stressful. But something remarkable happens when people gain clarity. Stress often decreases. Confidence increases. They stop guessing and start knowing. They understand exactly what they spend and why. Financial peace doesn't come from perfection. It comes from awareness. Because when you know where your money is going, you're no longer at the mercy of uncertainty. You become the person making the decisions rather than reacting to them. Imagine setting aside just 1 hour this week, not to earn money, not to invest money, simply to review your finances. That single hour could reveal a forgotten subscription, an overpriced service, an unnecessary fee, or a cheaper alternative you've never considered. Most people spend more time researching a television than reviewing the expenses that affect them every month. Yet 1 hour of attention can produce savings that last for years. That's what makes financial reviews so powerful. The rewards continue long after the work is finished. A decision made today can continue benefiting you next month, next year, and even a decade from now. Few activities offer that kind of return on your time. At the beginning of this video, we asked a simple question: why do so many seniors lose thousands of dollars without realizing it? Now you know the answer. It's rarely one huge mistake. It's usually dozens of small ones: unreviewed expenses, automatic renewals, loyalty penalties, hidden increases, financial autopilot. None seem dangerous on their own together. They create a powerful drain on retirement savings. The good news is that every one of these problems can be addressed. Not overnight, not perfectly, but consistently. And consistency is where real financial progress happens. The money you're looking for may not come from a raise, an investment, or a lucky break. It may already belong to you. The only question is whether you'll take the time to find it. Remember, retirement success isn't about having more money. It's about keeping more of what you've earned. If you found this helpful, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Dave out.